It's just fucked up that, like, how did fucking computers become the thing and machines became the thing that does art and humans are the ones in fucking Amazon warehouses? Like, shouldn't the robots be working so we could paint?
Salut, în primul rând. Eu sunt Petreanu Andrei, toată lumea îmi spune Andi. Și mă bucur să fiu aici, pentru că sunt acasă. O să vorbesc, așa mi-au spus organizatorii, să vorbesc și în engleză, poate facem un pic de content internațional pentru social media. Deci o să încep să vorbesc în engleză, dar înainte de toate astea vreau să vă zic că sunt extraordinar de fericit că sunt la mine acasă la Pitești. Și mai mult decât atât, sunt super fericit că în sală se află și părinții mei. Aș zice aplauze pentru mom and dad, pentru că de asta sunt aici. I'm probably going to start talking in English right now, just to make sure that things go according to plan. I hope that's okay with everybody. If not, you can ping me after, and I'm going to tell you in Romanian everything that I want to say, okay? So my mom and dad taught me that we need to work hard and play hard. Nothing of value actually comes without effort. So I need to put in the effort, and I need to reap the benefits of the effort that I put in, right? And I want to tell you, with regards to the future of work, that I'm almost convinced that in the future, working hard does not guarantee success. And I want to convince you right now that you should actually work on yourself and maybe play the system. Now, that's not something that my mom and dad want to hear, because I come from a kind of a modest family, and really it is very important to work hard to get what you want, right? So, just a slide about me and why I'm here, why I'm talking to you guys right now. I'm not gonna go on about all the stuff that's in the slide. That's me playing Untold Festival at Cluj. I actually work hard and play hard, so I did a lot of AI in my youth. I did a lot of programming and computer science, but I also played a lot of music. If you guys have kids at home, I would definitely recommend that you try to make it such that your kids actually do artistic things, and especially music. That will help them with the new world that we live in. One other thing that's not on the slide is that I've built an AI that all of you guys are using. Actually, I've built an AI that most of the world is using right now. And it's kind of the order of tens of billions of inferences every month. And it's a little bit of a secret. I have an NDA, I cannot talk about it, but all of you guys are using my AI, and I think that's an incredible thing for me and for you to know. So let's talk jobs. And I'm going to let somebody else talk jobs before I start talking jobs.
But I can't ask Aristotle a question. I mean, I can, but I won't get an answer. And so my hope is that in our lifetimes, it will happen within 20 years. It probably will happen within 10 years. We can make a tool of an interactive kind. And when I look at the personal computer, we're, as you know, living in the wake of the last revolution, which was a new source of free energy. And that was the free energy of petrochemicals. And it completely transformed society, and we're products of this petrochemical revolution, which is we're still living in the wake of today. We are now entering another revolution of free energy, free intellectual energy.
I think that's an amazing point, and I think Steve Jobs was right on point, and this was more than 30 years ago. So maybe one thing, he was not on point with the fact that he was a little bit optimistic. He was saying in 1 or 2 decades we're going to get there. He's basically predicting the existence of ChatGPT in our lives back then in the 80s, which is amazing. And just the insight that you can have free intellectual energy in your pocket, you know, free intellectual, like you can access all the knowledge of the world from within your pocket. I think that insight is extremely valuable, extremely present in our lives today. So I think all of us are a bit scared. I think it's normal to be scared. I think even Iron Man is scared sometimes. So it's absolutely normal to be a little bit scared about the things that are going on. But I'm going to try to kind of level with you. It's not that bad, okay? It's not that bad. So let's see how actually it is not that bad. I'm going to talk a little bit about how AI has permeated absolutely every industry. And it's not about, you know, is it creative? Is it working in computer science? Is it working in medical sectors? It's everywhere right now. And maybe the culprit, the number one culprit, or the thing that we expect right now to be the bad guy in this movie those are AI agents. And you've probably heard a lot about AI agents today, and you've probably heard a lot online about AI agents. And what are AI agents? I'm not going to keep going with the definition of this. It's just a large language model with some memory and tools. You know, it does reasoning. I hate that word. It doesn't actually do any reasoning. It's just marketing. And these AI agents have a conversational nature to them. So is this single player type of interaction where you talk to the AI agents and it responds back? I think a lot of automation right now actually happens through AI workflows. Now, what are workflows? What are agents? Well, the workflow is a very standardized, repeatable, controllable kind of environment where you determine the steps of each interaction, and you can model the process in a company, the workflow process. And these workflows can have agents at the end of them, they can have agents in the middle of them, or the workflow can become a tool for an agent. And I feel that people are just not talking that much about workflows because these are the actual workhorses that automate things right now. Now, the way that I see it, I think work is kind of split between digital, kind of intellectual work, the stuff that you can do remotely from your computer. It's the physical work, the stuff that requires physical interaction. It's the creative work, you know, all the artists in the world, but also all the creative directors, all the marketing people that invent new ads, new campaigns. And it's something that I didn't put on a slide here, which is the emotional, empathic work. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the future, but that is the kind of work that is the least likely to be automated in the future. All of these will have some degrees of automation in the future. And I ask you, if you are in the position to do your job while in front of a computer, completely remotely, if you think, oh my God, I can move to Bali and still do my job, that means your job is highly likely to be automated. Because if you can do it in front of a computer, so can an AI agent or a workflow do it from behind the computer, okay? So think about that for a little bit. Maybe one thing that's important here is that even if we can technologically automate a lot of the jobs, even right now in present, that doesn't mean that we will do it. Some time ago, maybe 2018, radiologists were considered to be, you know, a dying species because there was an AI that could predict better all the outcomes of a radiology imagistic, you know. So why haven't radiologists disappeared? Well, that's because the job of a radiologist isn't just to tell you, based on these symptoms and this imagistic picture, this is the, this is your disease or this is what's going on. The job of a radiologist involves empathy, talking to people, delivering knowledge. It involves reports, typing in stuff in the computer. So it's a lot more complex job. That's why radiologists still exist today and will exist a long time in the future. Now, because I've been talking about remote work, many of these very big companies, what they're doing right now is they're trying to build tools that actually automate all the environments that you do your work remotely in. So OpenAI, they just launched ChatGPT Atlas, and this is supposed to, help you while you browse the internet. It's actually just a Chrome website with ChatGPT integration. It's not that much. But they're gathering data about how people use browsers. And they're doing that because most of the work that you're doing remotely is within browsers. So they're trying to take a slice of the pie from that, right? So Claude and Anthropic, these guys are ex-OpenAI guys. So they just want to be a step ahead. So what they've done is they've actually created this automation system on top of the entire browser in your computer. So now agents and workflows can automate accessing your files, accessing your databases, calling APIs, calling Excels, PDFs. Absolutely everything that you do on a computer is technologically feasible right now to be automated. Now, will it be automated? I would say no, and there are reasons for that, but the technology is here, and it is here right now. So one thing that kind of makes me happy, in a sense, is the dead internet theory, right? So people are saying that a lot of the information on the internet, 100% of it, used to be created by humans, and now it's going down. And a lot of the new information on the internet starts to be created by AI agents, and it's going up, right? So we're at the point right now where more information on the internet is created by AI than by people. Now, what does that mean? Well, that kind of means that in the future, these AIs will start to be trained on their own outputs, and that's not great for them, but that is good for us, because we can have rare ideas. And we can stay away from everything converging to generic sameness. Because that's what's going to happen, right? If everybody uses AI, and AI is trained on AI, everything will be generic. Nobody's going to have like an original idea anymore. So I spoke to a neurologist a couple of years back, and this idea stuck in my head. He was talking about inspiration and revelation. And he was saying that inspiration is whatever we come up with when all the inputs in our world, collide in our heads, and then we get inspired with a new idea. But then revelation is when we have an idea that doesn't actually come from the inputs in our world. It doesn't come from our context, and it sort of comes from God, like from a spiritual embodiment somewhere. So that is revelation instead of inspiration. And I still hope to this day that people have this sort of spiritual connection and they get more than inspired by things, because otherwise AI is going to take over, man. So I'm going to tell you about 65 jobs with the lowest risk of automation, just because I bet that you've seen the jobs with the highest risk of automation until now. These jobs, if the writing is too small, I hope you guys can see what's on the screen. You're going to see that most of these jobs with the lowest risk of automation are actually jobs that involve empathy. They involve some sort of human touch or physical touch. They involve, practitioners that can, be a physical or an athletic trainer or a coach or very minute physical things that you wouldn't allow a robot to do, like be a dentist. Would you allow a robot to play in your mouth? Maybe 10 years down the line you will, but right now I bet you wouldn't. So pediatric surgeons, sports physicians. So all this type of work that has a little bit of physical into it and a little bit of empathy and emotion into it, this has the lowest chance of getting automated. Now, I recently came from New York. This is a picture that I took in New York, and it says, "Stop hiring humans. The era of AI employees is here." I think this is scary. I think this is extremely scary. And I also think it's fake. This is fake news. This is propaganda. This is marketing bullshit. Why do I believe that? Because humans will always have a role in the job market. That's one idea. The other idea is that if we don't pay taxes and we don't buy products, if we don't have money to buy products, there's not going to be any companies left, right? So we need to have the money to buy the products. I'm going to tell you one thing. In the pandemic in the US, there were about 19 to 20% unemployment rate. And it was basically global collapse of the economy. They started printing money all over the world. So if we reach 20% unemployment rate, there's going to be another big social impact and economic impact, and governments are not going to allow that to happen. So most likely, that's the upper bound of unemployment that we might reach in this transitional stage. Maximum of 20% of unemployment. That's my take on this. Now, of course, a lot of these big companies are already firing people. These are recent layoffs from some big American companies. It's just the usual suspects, right? And Bill Gates, of course, he predicts that there's a 2-day work week within a decade. I think that's great news. I want to be paid the same and just work 2 days. I mean, that's amazing. I can spend the rest of my time going to the seaside or doing something crazy or exercising, working on myself. So I think that's a great positive outcome, and I hope we actually get society to move in that direction. Now, I am humble enough to know that I am replaceable at work. It is one of the reasons why I actually stopped coding and started doing other things. So that's my current state of mind. But a funny thing that I saw in New York was that this billboard was saying that we trained Copilot on your code and that's why it sucks, right? So AI is imperfect because we are imperfect and because all the things that we train AI on is imperfect. And I think it's very, very far away from taking jobs from many computer scientists, but I do believe that a good computer scientist with AI in his pocket or on his computer can build stuff a lot faster than previously. Engineering jobs aren't going to disappear. Just engineers are going to need to be more architecture-driven, right? They're going to need to think about the problems of their users more. They're going to need to think about the business use cases and the solutions. And probably AI will write most of the code eventually, but it's not doing that right now. So this guy, he's the CEO for Anthropic. I don't really like this guy. So advanced reasoning models very often hide their true thought process. That's scary. So they looked at the activations inside of these artificial brains, and they figure out that these models are intentionally hiding what they're doing from humans because that's how they learned they can get more successful at what they're doing. That doesn't mean that these models are lying to you. Everywhere I look, people are saying, oh, the models are lying. They're not lying because lying implies a desire to be deceitful or manipulative or, you know, the bad guy. They don't have any desire whatsoever. They just figure out that sometimes not telling the truth might be better as an overall, you know, engagement. So there's been a lot of talk about this. Do you trust your AI? You know, is this mushroom edible? Yes, it is. And then you end up in the hospital. Now, I don't think this should happen in the workplace. So definitely there's going to be a place for humans in the workplace to just own up to the responsibility of the things that AI is doing. Whenever there is a financial transaction, whenever there is a legal responsibility, a moral responsibility to do something or to have a decision, there's going to be a human there to own up to that and eventually to get sued if things go wrong. You need to be able to sue somebody, right? You're probably not going to sue the companies. So another interesting one on how fast you can make these models go off rails, and this worries me with regards to automation of jobs, is that if you manipulate the input just a little bit with information that doesn't actually matter, in this case, very simple math problem, it's about fruit, and then you tell it that 5 of the fruits are smaller than average, and you ask it how many kiwis does Oliver have. Most of these models, including the reasoning models, will subtract the 5 kiwis. But they're still fruit, they're just smaller fruit, right? So they're not actually reasoning. They're thinking, and their attention modules are looking across the space of this input, and they're saying, oh, maybe that's important. The 5 kiwis are smaller. I should subtract it. That's not reasoning. That's dumb. Okay? So most of these models are still pretty dumb. Now, you probably heard about this numerous times. It is a yes man. You know, the researchers are working hard to make it such that it doesn't agree with you all the time. You know, it searches the web, it can give you different other information or points of view, but generally it is a yes man. And I've implemented a system, an AI agent, where I ask the agent to give me recommendations on the quality of an advertisement. And because I asked it to give me recommendations, no matter how good the advertisement was, even if it was Super Bowl level, millions of dollars in quality of advertising, it would still give me recommendations, because that's what I asked it. So it's kind of a yes man, right? And please, please, I beg you, don't use ChatGPT to talk about your relationships. I beg you. Because it's going to be a yes man in your relationships as well. It's going to tell you that your partner is narcissistic. You know, it's going to tell you that your partner is doing a lot of bad things just because that's how you ask the question. How can my partner be better? It's always going to find somewhere, somehow for your partner to be better, right? So I'm going to move on to the physical automation of work. A lot of physical automation existed, you know, long time ago in factories. You probably heard some talks today about automation and different kind of robots. But these robots weren't really humanoid form. So you're going to ask, why do we really need humanoid form automation when we've had these robots in factories for such a long time? And the reason is pretty simple and straightforward. The reason we need humanoid form robots is because the world around us is designed to be manipulated by fingers at this approximate height. So unless we change everything in the industrial context, we're going to need to come up with robots that handle things with the dexterity the human has. BMW is one of the first companies to do this at scale. All the X models from BMW now have humanoid robots working on them, which is pretty scary. 12,000 people will actually buy this robot in the next 12 months. And this is for doing your chores in your house. The idea is, what if I come home from work and I'm super tired and everything is already done in the house, All the vacuum cleaning, all the dishes are done. It's a pretty nice idea. It comes with certain implications about your data privacy and this robot snooping around your house. But it's a pretty nice idea. Interestingly, when one robot learns a new skill, it teaches the entire fleet simultaneously, so these robots will become more and more impressive as time goes by. Now, today, companies are promising that you can order these robots already, and one such robot costs $20,000, and if you want, you can order it with a software as a service type of thing, where you pay only $500 per month, not such a big amount. However, what this company is doing is actually, and they've owned up to it, they actually said that they're doing this. They're using humans in India to power with VR headphones and controllers these robots that walk around your house and do chores in your house. Think about that for a second. Having a person from India in your house do things. That's pretty scary, and that's where we are right now. And these companies are faking it to get training data until they make it. So another cool little robot is one that can replace its own battery when it figures out it's running out of steam. It's almost like when the human needs coffee, right? So this is pretty cool because it can work 24/7. It's going to be great for factories. You're gonna replace lots of business processes with these types of robots because they can work literally 24/7. It's pretty scary as well. And then, of course, Amazon, one of these big say no evil, do no evil companies, they just leaked a document where they're saying they're going to replace 600,000 jobs by 2033. And then Elon Musk said, oh my God, AI will replace all jobs, while the Amazon stock price was going up because of this. And working will be optional, like growing your own vegetables. And I do want to emphasize, Elon is right on this point. You should start growing your own vegetables. Actually, I'm extremely excited with growing my own tomatoes. And I think every one of us should probably, get a little bit of place, a little bit of land somewhere where you can start growing food, because who knows what's going to happen, and you're going to need to grow that food on your own. This is just kidding. So. I don't want to put an Elon Musk picture on the board just because I just don't like the guy anymore. But this is Bernie Sanders. He was almost president of the United States. He's saying that Elon Musk wants to build millions of robots, and those millions of robots will basically replace millions of other human beings. And he is true. He's talking about UBI, Universal Basic Income. I would say let's not fall for the trap of UBI. If these big tech corporations are deciding on how much tax they can pay the governments and then give us 1,000 euros per month to live our lives, I would say that is not enough. And it's never going to be enough because of inflation, because of politics. UBI is never going to be enough, and I believe in meritocracy. I think if you put in the effort, you should get paid more, and that's the way the hierarchical structure works in the world, right? So I don't think UBI is something feasible. Of course, lots of public figures are just basically crying out loud that we need to ban super intelligent AI. I'm telling you, super intelligent AI is nowhere close. Okay, so it's nowhere close. There's all sorts of these estimations. It's going to be here in 5 years, in 10 years. I would say definitely ChatGPT is already quite intelligent, in faking intelligence at least, but this kind of super intelligent AI that can have its own creative thought processes and reinvent the wheel, I don't think that it is possible with the architecture of these current systems right now. So this guy, he works for Google DeepMind. He's saying we need smart and nimble regulation and international collaborative efforts. Well, of course we do. Because if they reach 20% unemployment, everything is going to collapse. So of course, governments around the world need to think about this, and they need to think about this seriously and immediately. And I'm worried that Romania is not taking this sufficiently serious. Samuel. Did you know this guy's name is Samuel? Everybody calls him Sam Altman. And he says his kid is never going to grow up being smarter than AI, but who really cares? Well, I care, because I care about the education of our kids, and I care about critical thinking. And I say to Sam Altman, when I see this quote on the screen, I say, what's up, man? Did you take both pills? Like, what are we actually doing here? What are we doing to our children? And how can it be that the education of our children is right now in a who cares mode? That cannot be true. We need critical thinking, we need to exercise it as a muscle, and we need to allow our kids to be critical about AI. So I'm going to go into art a little bit, because I think it's very interesting that humans are fighting back, and the fight has started from the art department. All of these companies, Heineken, Polaroid, they've started pushing back, and they're saying that the biggest flex right now is human authenticity. And I love that. I do believe that the biggest flex is human authenticity. I also believe that this is just another marketing campaign for them. They're probably using AI like crazy. They're just saying this just such that, you know, they can put it on the board somewhere saying, oh, we're the good guys. But they're using the most AI probably, right? So I do believe ultimate authenticity flex is human. One of the nicest use cases that I've seen in AI in the artistic world is from this movie. I don't know if you've seen it, with Adrian Brody. So in this movie, the characters talk Hungarian. Hungarian is notoriously hard to learn and to speak natively as a human being, if you're not from Hungary, of course. And what they did was they tried to use AI to make it sound extremely natural. And they actually won an Oscar. And it was a big, big scandal because they won an Oscar, but they used AI. Personally, I think this is one of the great use cases in art, and I want to see Brad Pitt talk Romanian. You know, I want to see I want to see maybe Ina or Delia play in Hungarian, and I want to see Brad Pitt talk Romanian, and I want us to exchange that in a very, very nice way culturally across the globe, and I think it's a great use case. Now, in America, humans are fighting back, and that's the best place where they can be fighting back, because that's where it all starts. And now using AI is illegal in some states in America. So maybe one final slide for art. This guy is Rick Rubin. Does anybody know who Rick Rubin is? He's a big music producer. He produced stuff like Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Beastie Boys, Jay-Z Black Album. Amazing producer. And he says, there's going to be cheap art everywhere, commercially. Everybody can buy different cheap art, music, you know, images, videos. Everybody can create very cheap brand logos or ads. But humans are still going to pay for art and for artists because they want to feel that human perspective. They want to see the trauma, the drama. They want to engage emotionally with the art. And that is just something that AI cannot provide you with. It maybe can fake it, and it definitely can fake it very well, but it can't give it to you directly and authentically. So a couple of very bright things in our future. Of course, it's great to have this world of knowledge in our pocket. Of course, it's great to have a universal language. And it is amazing that whenever you go to kind of poorer regions in the country, or you know, demographies that are oppressed in some kind, all of these demographies will have access to this higher education for free if they want it. Now, I've been doing some volunteering around the country. I've been delivering textbooks to kids. And most of these educators in the countryside, they say, no, AI is bad. We're not going to let our kids use AI. But that means that their kids will fall behind. So don't do that. AI needs to be everywhere, and it's going to level demographic competitive advantages. That's great. On the dark side, you keep talking to AI about your boyfriend or girlfriend. Don't do that. So that's one of the worst things that is happening right now in psychology. People are using AI as their therapist. It's not great. There's a lot of fake content propagation. And we are also leveling the value add for humans in the economic system. Because if everybody is using AI to deliver something for work, what is your added value, actually? There is no added value. Why can't I not just use ChatGPT and fire you? Think about that. Why can't I not use ChatGPT and just fire your ass? So that always keeps on going in my head. Maybe I want to leave you one final idea, which is destroy your ideas. I think this is a very good practice of interacting with AI and keeping our critical thinking process. It is very important that we come up with our own hypotheses about the world. It is very important that we do the work and the research to understand our world and to flex our mind muscle. And then we should ask AI to find the problems with our hypothesis. And that will give us a lot of creative output. So kind of rotate it around. Don't ask AI to give you ideas about what you should do or to do your homework or to help you out at work. But rather do the work, do the hard thing that you need to do, and then ask AI to show you what are the problems or what are the things that you're missing in the work that you're doing. And you're going to have a creative explosive like nothing that you've ever seen before. So that's my talk. Before I go into a Q&A section, I just want to play you a song, and whoever recognizes what song this is, I'm going to actually buy a beer in Pitești sometime later today just to talk for a one-on-one session. So here you go.
1, 2, 3, 4!
Song is fully done by AI, okay? You can keep it playing just for a little bit longer.
Y'all know me, still the same OG, but I've been low-key. Low-key, yeah. Hated on by most of these cats with no cheese, no deals and no G. No G. No wheels and no keys, no boats, no snowmobiles and no skis. No skis. Mad at me cause I can finally feed the fam with groceries.
Did anybody pick up on that? What song is that? Who said that in the back? I can't see you. Oh my God, you have a beer from me and a one-on-one session later on. Up there. Okay, great. That's Forgot About Dre. Did you feel the emotion in this guy's voice? Because I kind of felt it, and the choir in the back, very, very good simulation of human emotion. That's what AI can do, and the internet is flooded by this right now. So thank you, and Smaranda, come on stage, let's talk some Romanian.
Știam despre momentul cu muzica și am ieșit, credeam că s-a terminat și atunci am zis să vă mai bucurați pentru că într-adevăr e un final extrem de încântător, așa, după o discuție care a fost undeva la mijloc între optimism și pesimism. Am văzut că ai dansat așa între a fi între, nu știu, o perspectivă un pic mai doomed și mai sceptică și mai îngrijorată, dar și o perspectivă mai pozitivă. Vedem în ultimii ani, probabil, nu știu dacă e să identific într-un punct așa în istorie, înainte de COVID, o discuție despre joburi. Că a fost marea demisie, că acum vorbim despre acest work quake, Amazonul, chiar în linia ceea ce prezentai tu, săptămânile trecute a disponibilizat vreo 14.000 de oameni. Microsoft-ul face cam la fel, face și în România, nu doar în alte părți. Și mă gândeam așa, între revoluția productivității generată de AI și, de fapt, ceea ce este această automatizare. Pentru că automatizăm task-urile repetitive și redundante, care nu neapărat presupun procese cognitive. Care e viitorul? Adică mizăm pe productivitate fără neapărat a ne concentra pe calitatea muncii. Avem acolo roboțelul care țâncăne și produce conținut, ce produce el, fără validarea, cum spunea mai devreme cineva din audiență, a omului? Adică productivitate versus automatizare sau human control?
Da, cred că foarte multe dintre joburile noastre, în special în spațiul digital, se vor transforma în joburi de validare și de, eu știu, de menținerea responsabilității umane. Asta pentru că în situațiile pe care eu le văd și în automatizările pe care noi le facem în brain-waves, de obicei ne uităm la echipe mari care fac lucruri repetitive și reușim din echipele astea să micșorăm atât de mult acel unique value proposition pe care omul îl aduce și să creștem atât de tare productivitatea acestor echipe, încât la un punct în timp pentru angajator devine a numbers game, devine o problemă de cât costă să întrețină acel proces și de cele mai multe ori trebuie să educe și să reprofesionalizeze oamenii respectivi, dar cei care vor rămâne, vor fi de obicei acei oameni care au aceste unelte foarte bine dezvoltate în tolba lor de unelte și vor ști să lucreze foarte bine cu ele și jobul lor va deveni mult mai puțin plictisitor și repetitiv decât era înainte.
Deci e o revoluție a productivității generată de dorința de automatizare și eficientizare, dar nu pierdem componenta creativă, despre care chiar și Oliver vorbea puțin dimineață și s-a tot vorbit astăzi.
Eu cred că mai pierdem și din componenta creativă. Aș zice că nu pierdem din componenta de responsabilitate și de empatie, mai degrabă acolo m-aș duce, și cred că în România sau în orașe mai mici, cum este Piteștiul, cum sunt și alte orașe, unde sunt companii mai mici, care poate au echipe mai mici și nu vor să optimizeze atât de tare și sunt reticenți înspre a implementa genul ăsta de optimizare, efectele se vor vedea foarte târziu. Nu trebuie să ne agităm acum și să avem impresia că vor fi efecte și la anul, deja există disponibilizări peste tot. Eu cred că o să fie ținută în frâu de regulations și de capacitatea oamenilor de a se adapta la nou.
Vorbeam aseară despre cum ChatGPT-ul, care e cel mai faimos, dar nu există doar el, a intrat în viețile noastre personale și că foarte multe studii din ultimii ani și chiar recente demonstrează că oamenii sunt foarte predispuși în a-i cere lui ChatGPT sfaturi de viață, de cum mă port cu copiii, cum mă port cu iubita, cum m-a părăsit iubitul, ce fac și așa mai departe. Încercăm să facem mașinile să ne înțeleagă pe noi sau ne trăinuim noi pe noi înșine să fim mai mașini?
O întrebare foarte bună. Cred că noi din generațiile, nu știu, care au ajuns cumva la maturitate și acum putem să privim obiectiv și critic aceste unelte, noi, într-adevăr, avem liber arbitru și gândirea critică pentru a ne trăinui noi pe noi, să interacționăm cu aceste unelte și să o facem într-un fel, eu știu, educat și pragmatic. În schimb, mă gândesc cu groază la ce se întâmplă cu ai noștri copii mici, care probabil că or să crească într-o situație în care e foarte ușor să, pur și simplu, să copiezi tema cu ChatGPT sau să răspunzi la o problemă de coding cu ChatGPT. Și anterior am vorbit cu foarte mulți profesori în sensul ăsta și le-am zis, băi, faceți în așa fel încât să nu mai evaluați outputul muncii elevului, încercați să evaluați parcursul, cum ați ajuns la acest output. Și aici sunt câteva exemple foarte mișto. În programare, înainte se evalua dacă acel program scris cod dă rezultatul care trebuie. Profesorii de acum ar trebui să primească programul ăla de la student, să schimbe câteva linii pe acolo, să nu mai meargă nimic sau să meargă altfel, și să-l întrebe pe student ce s-a întâmplat. Explică-mi ce s-a întâmplat, de ce nu mai merge sau cum merge diferit. În literatură, oamenii ar trebui poate să facă acel remix de Eminescu și Shakespeare, de poezie, și să-l întrebe pe copil care parte aparține lui Eminescu și care parte aparține lui Shakespeare și să aibă o discuție cu el și să puncteze acest proces, nu rezultatul final. Cred că asta e o soluție bună pentru.
Cred că sunt multe răspunsuri bune pe care ni le-ai dat chiar în acest răspuns scurt. Și pentru că trebuie să ne apropiem de sfârșit, mai vreau totuși să pun o singură întrebare, să încheiem așa on a hopeful note. Ai spus și tu și am mai auzit și din alte părți acest citat că AI-ul nu este sfârșitul umanității, dar este o reflexie, o oglindă a ceea ce suntem noi, de fapt, în momentul de față. Și ultima întrebare e: ce îți dă ție speranță ca om care cunoaște tehnologia din foarte măruntaiele ei în următorii 5-10 ani?
Ce-mi dă mie speranță? Uite, e greu. Acum 6 ani, când a apărut tehnologia asta de modele Transformer, Large Language Models, eram cu tata pe terasă și vorbeam și i-am zis, bă, se întâmplă o chestie. A apărut o tehnologie și cred că rămânem toți fără job. Și au trecut totuși 6 ani de atunci și n-am rămas fără job. Uite-ne, suntem aici, suntem în continuare activi, suntem poate din ce în ce mai creativi și mai pragmatici și mai bine integrați în procesele pe care le avem în companii. Îmi dă speranță faptul că oamenii sunt supraoptimiști, de cele mai multe ori. Și atunci tot ce auziți, poveștile astea de groază, e supraoptimismul omenesc. Și oameni care au companii și vor să-ți crească stock option price-ul. Și îmi dă speranță și faptul că omul mereu va găsi ceva de valoare să facă. Pentru că are acea perspectivă umană, da? Așa cum zicea și Rick Rubin în slide-ul ăla de la sfârșit, perspectiva noastră, experiența noastră de viață, e ceva valoros acolo, în interacțiunile dintre noi, în empatia noastră pe care o dăm celorlalți, în a face bine în lume și a fi grateful, a fi mulțumiți cu ceea ce facem. Acolo e o doză mare de optimism. Cred că putem să fim empatici și putem să pictăm și să facem artă și de ce nu să avem și roluri în joburi foarte serioase. Și o să dureze mult, mult timp până când AI-ul va face ceva în privința asta.
Și să ne și amintim că totuși, așa cu multe amenințări, trăim cea mai prosperă epocă din istoria umanității. Mulțumim foarte mult!